Welcome back, and thanks everyone for your nice comments on that last video, which was, the second flight of the airplane. So since then, did a few things on Thursday and Friday, sorting out some additions there to the aileron spades, which I'll show you there in a second, and also figuring up a way to measure the temperature there going through that new intercooler, and also make an improvement to that. So I had a few things going on. Of course, we had the president in town on Saturday, so I wasn't able to do anything then. But I've managed to get everything sorted out, and I've added some more fuel to the tanks now. So I'm going to be running with about 3 more gallons in each straight tank for the next flight, just to eliminate fuel moving around in the tanks there as one of the possibilities for the instability on the first flight. But as you'll see, and I'm going to show it to you in this video, in those first flights, I'm pretty sure that the CG being too far aft was causing that floor plane here to be, almost on the edge of stall most of the time. And then the main wing there getting like, I wouldn't say really a buffet, but potentially approaching close to stalling on the root here. Which won't stall on the tips because of the twist in the wing, but close to stalling on the main wing there at the strake, and then potentially because of that happening unevenly, it was sort of happening, one wing would do it and then the other wing would do it, and so you get like the nose stalling, and then you get the main wing stall, and then the other side of the main wing stalling. So that was causing, all this, and literally just by moving the CG forward is the solution for that. And we didn't know exactly where it needed to be, but having moved it forward, I think I've moved it forward about 4 inches altogether, so that's made quite a difference. Anyway, let me show you the changes that I made since last week in preparation, and I'm going to take the aircraft out and just do a high-speed run. It's a bit strong crosswind today, like direct crosswind, so I'm going to just take it out and do a high-speed run and see if I can test and see how well this new intercooler is working with the thermometer thing that I have set up that I'll show you. So let's have a look at all that. Okay, so under here, what I've done is I've actually cut a couple of bits of metal here, just thin aluminum, and sort of faired this in. So instead of just the pipe going around like the way it was, I faired that in because I noticed that the telltales that I had here were kind of coming back around in here. So I think the air was flowing around this thing and creating a high pressure back in here again, which was just stopping the air from flowing. So this should create a constant low pressure all around this whole area here and allow that to pull through more. And so I've got the telltales here again, and I'll be able to potentially see that from a video camera that's mounted up over there and see how that works out. And so the other thing I've got here is this is a temperature probe, and I've got 2 of them. So you see this one's just sitting in the middle of the slipstream there, and the other one way down in there is actually touching right into the intercooler there. And so that's running back here. And again, this is just temporary, obviously, just easiest way to set something up for testing. So I've got it up in here, and as you can see here, I just turn this guy on and I get the temperatures there. So the top one there is the intercooler temperature, and the bottom one there is the air temperature. So this one should be reading higher most of the time, and that one there should be reading lower, but will be interesting to see. And this is just, for setting temperatures. Obviously this is a meat thermometer for barbecuing or whatever, but anyway, we'll see how that works out. And I'm going to set up a camera here on the door so I can record this and not have to just eyeball it and just see what's going on. And unfortunately, obviously, I can't get a nice log of it like I do on the Motec stuff, but that'll be something at least. And over here on the ailerons, what I've done is I've created this new spade here. So just basically this is just 16 gauge steel, so pretty thin but rigid enough that it's not going to flex, and so the idea of this is creating, pretty much I'm doubling the aerodynamic surface here. So once you start deploying, for those who don't know how spades work, once you start pushing on the aileron a little bit to tilt it, the incoming air here catches this edge here and pushes on it more, and basically helps the aileron deflect more. So the idea of that is to make the control force is lighter, and the same when you go this way, the air catches under here and pushes it this way, So you know, we'll see how that goes. It's going to be a case of just sort of dialing it in. But I had to get that cut. I took it to the metal shop again and had them use their shear to cut those out for me, and then I just rounded the corners off, smoothed them off, and then quickly painted them so they won't rust. But you know, I might be changing those out, you know, sooner than later if it's not enough or if it's too much or whatever. But we'll see. You've got to start somewhere. So that's going to be, you know, making the aileron controls feel a bit lighter in the roll axis. And the other thing that I did, so after that second flight, I had this aileron trim here down probably about this much here. So getting close to being neutral. It was still having to deflect this a little bit. So what I've done is I've gone and changed the angle on this. I had it at 20 degrees from the downward surface here, and I've basically made it about 29 degrees, close to 30 degrees now. So that just gives me a little bit more push on here, which means that, you know, the aileron should be getting closer to just staying in the neutral position. Alright, real quickly I'd like to show you what happened there on that last flight. So this is just before rotation, and you'll see once I pull the nose up, the aircraft comes up to about 10 degrees nose up attitude, at which point that's the stall point there for the foreplane. And as you'll see here in a second, all the telltales on the top there start going in different directions, indicating the stall. And also if you look at the telltales that are closest to the leading edge on the main wing here, you'll see that they've been drawn around over the top, meaning the stagnation point is down underneath and below the leading edge of that wing there. And I think that's what was happening on the first flight with the aft CG. The aircraft was just, you know, constantly flying around about 5 to 8 degrees nose up attitude, and every now and then it would hit 10 degrees, at which point you know, the foreplane would stall, and then the main wing would stall maybe sort of unevenly, so it might stall on one side but then not on the other. So that was causing, you know, the instability in basically in both different axes there. So anyway, that's resolved now with a forward CG, and it's only going to happen, you know, if you pull the nose up like that on takeoff, which is what's supposed to happen. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that. Alright, so this is going to be a test to see how this thing works out here. See my cow down the bottom here. Anyway, it's showing there 99 degrees on the intercooler already, and just 59 ambient because there's no air flowing through it because I'm sitting still right now. But we'll keep an eye on that, and at the same time the coolant temp is showing 70 degrees going into the engine. Because that's most of the coolant that's coming out of those tanks right now, just keeping everything cool. Anyway, let's taxi down and we'll see how things go. Well, off the ground, Raptor 352 Tango Delta at the north ramp would like to taxi to runway 35 for high-speed taxi.
Raptor 352 Tango Delta, right off the ground, runway 35, taxi via Alpha, wind variable out of the west at 6, altimeter 2986.
Yeah, runway 35 via Alpha 352 Tango Delta. And I've set the elevator trim to pretty much nose down. I don't really want to go flying today. Bit of a full-on crosswind today. And ambient temperature is 61 outside. That's already working there. Doing 18 knots right now. And I did check over everything with respect to the engine and the redrive, the belts and everything like that after that last flight, and everything looked fine. Didn't see anything that looks like it's changed or whatever, so that's all good. It's interesting there, that's pretty much keeping the same temperature. So the air is running through there nicely right now, just cruising at, taxiing at 17 knots. Ground speed. Watch and see how much that comes down here, just sitting still with no air. Well, there's a little bit of headwind blowing in there probably. In fact, the windsock almost looks like it's favouring a tailwind right here, but those trees over there really make this windsock play around, do weird stuff. It looks like that's going to stabilise there. Valdosta Tower, Raptor 352 Tango Delta holding short of 35.
Raptor 352 Tango Delta, Valdosta Tower, runway 35, clear for takeoff. Correction, high speed taxi approved.
Runway 35, high speed taxi 352 Tango Delta.
And Raptor 352 Tango Delta, cancel takeoff clearance, high speed taxi approved on runway 35.
Sorry, did you just approve my high speed taxi clearance? 352 Tango Delta.
Raptor 352 Tango Delta, affirmative, high speed taxi is approved.
High speed taxi runway 35, 352 Tango Delta.
Valdosta Tower, 625 Charlie Tango, 7 miles to the west, landing 35. Runway 625 Charlie Tango, Valdosta Tower, turn variable 3 out of the southeast. Runway 2985, enter left midfield downwind for runway 35 and full midfield. Report midfield for left downwind for 35, 5 Charlie Tango. November 5 Charlie Tango, that wind is out of the northwest. Roger, 5 Charlie Tango.
I guess my meat's cooked. Oh, now I know what happens when that temperature gets set there. Well, that looks like it's working really well there. The temperature coming out of there is the same as the temperature on the core. That means the air is getting everything that it can get, drawing as much heat as possible out of that core for the air that's flowing through there. Valdosta ground, Raptor 352 Tango Delta off at 35 at Alpha. Would like to taxi back to the north ramp.
Raptor 352 Tango Delta, taxi to Park Alpha.
Taxi north ramp via Alpha 352 Tango Delta. Gonna sit over here and face into the wind and just see what this does. So the heat's still being drawn out of there because that temperature is still 95 on the air coming out the back there. So even just sitting here with the breeze blowing through there is pulling heat out of there. It'll be interesting to see how long it takes for that 160. Oh, it's 158 now. Okay. See how long that takes to actually start cooling things down. The wind is turned around to the northwest, so I'm facing kind of the wrong way here a little bit, but it keeps changing. Put that temperature up somehow. Figure out how to do that. Might have to read the instructions. Yeah, I think that's going to stabilize kind of round about there because the coolant temp's showing on the engine 138, oil temp's 179, so this is going to be in between those two for sure. So not as much breeze blowing in there now. I'll just turn into the wind again and see if it makes a difference. The wind has turned about 45 degrees. Oh yeah, right away. Well, I think some of that's from the prop pulling. Let's try a little quick run up here and see what happens. That's the question. If there's enough air pulling through it to make it cool down is the question, even just sitting here. Do another quick little run up and then I'm going to shut it all down, taxi back and shut it down. Alright, so now the coolant temps is 164, oil temps 222, 221. See if that comes down a bit. Well, I'll taxi back and then I can watch there. Oh, that's pretty cool right there. T130 flying overhead doing a low pass. Nice. As soon as that's not turned into the wind, there's definitely airflow not flowing through there anymore. It just starts to cool to ambient really quickly. Look at that, 120, 110. Put it back into the wind again, see what happens there. I'll try turning the heater off and see what happens now on that loop, see if it cools down just with the fresh air blowing through it. So the heater loop is off now. Definitely getting fresh air just pulling through it, just sitting here. Yeah, I think with the amount of air flowing through there is not really enough to make it temperature come down quickly enough, but the fact that this is changing means that there's air definitely moving back and forth through there. Or at least moving out of there. That probe isn't that far in the inlet there. Potentially if it gets backwinded it would just be, you know, getting ambient temperature. Be nice to see that come down off of 192 though. Yeah, there we go, 190. Alright, I'll put my hand on that in that pipe there and just see how it feels with the air blowing across here. But I think that's going to be a test, and review this data, and just waiting now for a day when I don't have a crosswind. You know, maybe less than 5 knots would be nice for the next flight. And the next flight's just going to be once around the pattern, just to test with more fuel in the tanks, just to make sure that there's not a stability thing happening because the fuel moving around in the tanks. You know, with the baffles not working as well as they should. But anyway, that's going to be it for this one. That's the video. Thanks for watching, and tune in again for the next one and see what I have for you. Cheers.
And just one last thing here before I finish out. So there's the temperature with everything shut down now, and just with the air blowing through. So 106 coming off there, and as you can see there, that probe is right there. It's only like not even an inch inside the inlet there, so I can feel the heat just radiating out of here. So that's actually working pretty good, even just with the, you know, the 6 or 7 knots of breeze that's blowing in here right now. Yeah, I can feel the heat. Pretty cool. Alright, we'll see how that all works out. And lastly, this is back inside now. So it's cooled down a little bit, but as you can see there, not as much air blowing through there. It was, what was 111 when it was sitting outside with the breeze blowing, and 88 now, 86. So that's just ambient heat being radiated off of there, I guess. So just even a little bit of breeze blowing in from the front is working there, so that's good. Alright, that's going to be the update. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.